But first, watch the intro. Da, 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 da.
You don't have to say watch the intro.
Like the fucking,
I know.
that was a
Welcome to the Fantasy Underdogs Podcast with your host, Dr. Ike and BJ.
Fantasy Underdogs here. We're talking about top 10 quarterbacks. Riggio, Patrick Mahomes, number one. Obviously, that's with Tyreek Hill's absence being baked in. But aside from that, what still makes him number one quarterback with his number one weapon being lost and our lights almost going out?
Well, I mean, that last year's performance, single-handedly, 50 touchdowns, MVP season. Mm-hmm. The offense isn't going anywhere. You know, they still got talent around. They went out and drafted a wide receiver to replace Tyreek Hill. Hopefully he's somewhat better. I do see a couple downgrades on the offense, The running game, Damian Williams was good towards the end of the season, but, can he vulture that can he do that for the whole season and help out Mahomes? Because the running back did play a big role in Patrick Mahomes' success this year. Mm-hmm. We still got Travis Kelce, best tight end in football.
Yep.
I think right now, undoubtedly, he's everyone's favorite, and he's my number one. He looks like he's your number one.
He is.
So there's not much more we could say about him that everyone already knows.
That's true. With any luck, Mahomes will be as close to as good as he was last year, but that brings us to the best segue ever. Andrew Luck as my number two. Rich, is he your number two?
Yeah, he's my number two, and honestly, I love this guy. I
do too. I loved him last year. Everyone was scared about the shoulder. He was gone for an entire year, but man, they corrected the offensive line issues, which was the most glaring need. He kept getting hurt. You protect your franchise quarterback. Now, this year, they went out and they got a wide receiver.
Two of them.
Two of them. They got two of them. Wow, I didn't do my research.
Funchess and Paris Campbell.
That's right. I forgot about Funchess. That's a nice big body to mix things up.
Mm-hmm. And they still got the tight ends. He
loves his tight ends, baby.
Honestly, I think this is Andrew Luck's best supporting cast he's ever had of his career.
This is the first time he's had a supporting cast. Every time it was him and just a skeleton of a team.
Yeah, and last year he had 36 touchdowns, was second in the NFL, right behind Mahomes. I do see the success to continue. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I were to predict right now, I would say Andrew Luck will be the NFL MVP and fantasy MVP at the end of the season.
I know you have money on the Colts winning the Super Bowl this year,
do have money on. I did take money on.
That's some separate talk when we start talking about betting.
Good odds.
Later on, and
like I said, I'm extremely high on Andrew Luck this year. I think he's gonna. Honestly, if Patrick Mahomes didn't have the season he had last year, Andrew Luck would no doubtly be my number one quarterback on the list.
And number three for me is Deshaun Watson. I think they tried addressing some of the concerns they had with the offensive line. Same kind of issues that the Colts had going into last year. They addressed them, trying to keep Deshaun Watson upright because he's got some of the best weapons in the NFL when it comes to the receiving core, at least. You got Kiki QT, I think is great underneath. You got Hopkins, possibly the number one wide receiver in the NFL. And who's the other guy that they got that keeps getting hurt every year?
Will Fuller.
He gets hurt every year, but when he's on the field, he's great.
Yeah,
but that's why it works having three really good wide receivers. It really helps balance him out. Yeah. You saw what he did when he first came in as a rookie.
He's phenomenal, man. Watson's phenomenal. I actually have Watson at 4, and I have Aaron Rodgers at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I see you.
So we have them flip flop.
Yeah, so we have them flip flop. So we could talk about both them. So as far as Watson goes, I absolutely love the guy. Mm-hmm. The guy's a fighter. He's a winner. He makes good plays. He has, like you said, talent all around him. That team's good. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. He's multidimensional. He's going to run the ball. He has a very high floor. I think the value you can get him also in the draft, other than possibly Rodgers, Luck, or Mahomes, is much better. I think you could probably get him in like the 6th round, and for a guy that has the potential to be a top 3, top guy. I think 6th round value would be pretty solid.
No, yeah. If you end up getting the number one quarterback with a 6th round pick, that's great.
Yeah, and then as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, he's got to be on the list. He's got to be in the top 4. Just because he's Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real. Yeah. The guy barely throws any interceptions.
He's great when he's on the field, but that's the only reason why I have. It's such a minute thing to be between 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that really brings it down for me for Aaron Rodgers is the fact that he's starting to become injury prone at this point.
Yeah, maybe. I guess. I mean,
And for the first time ever, he is using it's a different offense.
yeah. Well, that's I think the exciting part about it. I think the new offense, the new livelihood. Rodgers is gonna have more control, I believe, and I think he'll have a clearer mind of the new life the team has. I think they're going to focus probably more heavily on the running game this year. I think it's going to be a bigger part. I do believe Devontae Adams is still going to be an absolute stud.
Yep,
they really
agreed.
lack a second option, which kind of worries me a little bit
You
about
hope
Rodgers.
one of those rookie wide receivers from last year can kind of take that step up. Hopefully.
Hopefully, one of those guys could step in and take that next step for Rodgers to have another option. But the guy's just so consistent. I mean, yeah, last year was a down year. He was banged up, and like you said, he gets hurt. But it's still Aaron Rodgers, and you know what you're probably most likely going to get out of him. And chances are he's most likely going to perform most quarterbacks on a weekly basis.
Okay. And next guy that we have up, at least for me, I don't know, who do you have as your number 5?
I have Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. Now, I differentiate really big in this. I don't have Drew Brees in my top 10, whereas at number 5, I have Matt Ryan in that same division, the NFC South.
I mean, I like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan I have as number 7. Why do you have him ranked so high?
I really like the way this offense looks this year. I think we talked about it on another video where we think Devontae Freeman is going to have a big step up year, and he helps with the passing game. I just think that having Julio with a realistic threat opposite him really makes a big difference. I think that's really the key. Like, that's the first time that we've seen them since they had White, basically, that they have 2 wide receivers that can do something. And Matt Ryan is a fully developed elite quarterback on top of that. He knows what he is. We know what he is. I think there's a lot of consistency going in from last year to this year. And the only thing that they're really missing, I feel like, is Tevin Coleman, which I don't think is that bad. I don't think he was a game changer for them by any means. I think it's more than anything consistency. Like, they're just going to be a good team. Their defense tends to give up a lot. So I like quarterbacks that have, that has bad defenses, basically. It's just a higher possibility for scoring.
Yeah, and as far as Drew Brees goes at 5, I mean, how can you deny it? The guy was an MVP candidate last year. Potentially could have won if Mahomes didn't have a ridiculous year. He's always throwing the ball. That's what they do. They got rid of Mark Ingram. So the running game is probably going to be a little step back, and they'll probably rely more on the passing game like they usually do.
Yeah.
And they still throw the ball to running back all the time.
Yeah.
And he's always he always has the possibility to throw over 30 touchdowns. When he has that possibility to throw for 5,000 yards, he's done it so many times in his career.
Yeah.
I just think he's a safe pick at 5.
See, I disagree. I feel like, and I've had him a lot of years, and I'm noticing the decline is starting to really happen, especially, when
last year,
when
though,
he's
was
not in the
good.
dome, he's not playing well at
That's
all.
true.
And if you're a top 5 quarterback, you should be able to play those games on the road and not have an issue. I know it's nice at least he gets to play in Atlanta. That's a dome as well, and he's going to have at least 10 games in a dome, most likely, based on schedule. But there's something about him that scares me, where it's going to be like Tom Brady last year, where he just kind of starts. You see that cliff that you're falling down. That scares me. And the top 5, I think taking him as a top 10, it's worth it just for the upside alone. But I think top 5, there shouldn't be that much risk baked in to your quarterback.
Okay. And at 6, I got quite the difference as you. Well, you got a young guy as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Jared Goff, he's got all the weapons that he had last year. It's another year in that offense. I think they start clicking even more. I think possibly even the Todd Gurley stuff might be overblown. If he comes back and he's healthy, what's there not to like with this offense? And you could even have those young tight ends. You saw they started to perform at the end of the year. You could possibly get a full year of Cooper Kupp, who looked phenomenal before he got hurt. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. That's a ridiculous offense.
Yeah. I mean, with Goff, I think the addition of Cooper Kupp coming back is going to make him a different quarterback. If you notice, with Cooper Kupp and without Cooper Kupp, he was 2 different guys. He was so much more consistent and so much better when Cooper Kupp was in the lineup.
Yeah.
And when he was out, it obviously showed signs of he didn't know where to go on certain
He wasn't
plays.
he wasn't getting the big 20-plus point games as easily or consistently.
Yeah.
It was obvious. But, when you have that many great receiving options, then you start losing, they start getting hurt. Yeah, that's going to make things a little more difficult. Actually, even forget, who was the number 4 wide receiver? Josh Reynolds? Even he looked great. You have such an insane receiving core. I just feel like going into last year, I thought Jared Goff was the guy that I was targeting as if I waited on quarterback. And I think this year, because he had that decline towards the end of the year, I think he ends up being a value again where I'm going to be looking at him similarly. And like if he drops like 9th, 10th round, I'm happy. I might take him earlier than that just because I like him so much, but I tend to want to wait on quarterbacks. But that's a guy that I think he's just going to be an absolute value.
Yeah, I agree. You could probably get him late in drafts. So I would
Yeah.
definitely like 10th round or later. You should be able to snag him. My number 6 is Baker Mayfield. I just think this offseason has been incredible for him. I mean, let's be real. He got one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Got a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
I have him at number 9, and honestly, just already, I kind of feel like I've already made the wrong choice. I already want to move him up.
Yeah.
It's because I talk about weapons with the Goff. Look at the weapons Baker Mayfield has.
Yeah, Mayfield.
everywhere.
It's got
the same thing.
That offense might be one of the best in the NFL this season, if everything clicks correctly. And I could see him possibly finishing in the top 3. I mean, he could have easily 35.
The narrative
touchdowns.
is there.
Yeah,
That's a thing.
It's there. I mean, the talent is there for him to have an incredible season, and I do think that they'll be throwing the ball a lot, even when Kareem Hunt comes back week 9. I think they're still going to be throwing the ball, and Nick Chubb.
Well, I think that's great for Baker Mayfield. That hurts Chubb, but I don't think that hurts Mayfield at all. You just got another weapon.
That's what I'm saying. Even when he comes back, he's still going to.
That probably upgrades him, if anything.
Yeah. So
They're not going to suddenly turn into a ground and pound team when you have Odell Beckham. Like, look at the Giants. Even they had Saquon Barkley, who was arguably the best running back in the NFL. Odell still got his.
Yeah, I see them spreading the ball out a lot, throwing the ball downfield, making big plays, and putting up points.
Yeah.
The defense is better, so maybe that'll help a little bit on getting turnovers and stuff, or it might hurt them because they might be beating teams bad.
Now,
by
the
big
only
points.
things that makes me skeptical about Baker, now I like him at the number 6 spot. I think I'm going to move him up to probably 6 or 7 in my updated rankings. The thing that scares me, and I know it's stupid and people do it for alliteration's sake, is the sophomore slump and the fact that you have Odell Beckham, which changed the dynamic of the offense. Kareem Hunt, which changed the dynamic of the offense. Usually when you have like these crazy quote-unquote super teams, it takes time to gel and become a team like that. Now I know football is every year you got a bunch of new players, but when you have guys, when it comes to like wide receivers and stuff that need to mesh, like you got to get your timing down, like that's usually tough. That whole Amari Cooper thing with Dallas,
yeah.
That's like the first time we ever saw that happen and it worked. Like everyone thought Dallas got ripped off with that first round pick, and it worked out perfectly for them.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest question would be the egos and the chemistry.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got him so early. I mean, they got
Odell's
plenty of
not
time.
Ego, come on.
They got plenty of time. To
Odell and
gel.
Baker's gonna be a fun connection though.
Yeah.
I'm really looking, and even Landry, like those, just to have those two LSU products together. That's such like a cool like little. Like I'd almost do that if I was an LSU fan playing Madden, doing a mock draft or like my own franchise team.
Yeah.
I used to do those all the time.
All the
Oh
time,
my
yeah.
god, wasted so much of my youth doing that rather than playing with actual human beings.
Yeah. So at number 7, I have Matt Ryan, and you already explained the reasons of why Matt Ryan
He's solid.
is
solid.
going to be a solid pick this year. At 7, who do you have?
At 7, I have a bit of a surprise here because I was originally, when I did my rankings, I was going off of Fantasy Pros as just like the basis to see like who should be in like the top 10, 15, and Jameis stuck out to me as one that they had ranked much lower, and I had him at number 7 specifically because of Bruce Arians. Whenever Bruce Arians takes over an offense, that's excitement. He always turns it around. I mean, unless he is going to be the oldest coach in the NFL, maybe something's going mentally by this point. Who knows? But I think if this is the Bruce Arians that we've always seen in just the transformations he's done when he took over Indianapolis that one year, they're phenomenal. Arizona was not a good franchise before he took over. He took them into a top 5 offense. It's exciting. He throws down the field, and that's what this NFL is geared towards now. I think this is the make or break year for Jameis. And this also helps out Mike Evans a lot. I have him shot up my wide receiver rankings for the same exact reason, but Jameis has the weapons, and now he has the coach for the first time in his career, and he seems to have the focus and believes in his coach. I think that says big things. He's, again, all these guys could end up being top 3 depending on the way the chips fall, but I think Jameis is really like a wild card there. He is exciting to me.
Yeah, I got Jameis just outside the top 12. Or, I'm sorry, the top 10. I see the upside with him. I could see it happening. But I'm just not completely sold because of his accuracy. He's not a very accurate quarterback, throws a lot of picks. But that offense, that team is not going to be very good, so they might need him to just chuck it all over the lot.
That's true. And with Arians' offenses, he doesn't even care, which is crazy. He doesn't even care about interceptions, but he just wants you to throw for tons of touchdowns, spread out the field. But with Jameis's propensity to throw picks already, it's like an offense that's geared towards being fine with picks. It could be disaster. As exciting as I think he is, it could be utter disaster, and they could be wishing that they didn't lose Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point, which is a sad thing to say for a franchise. Now, at 8, I have Russell Wilson. He's probably a guy I want to move down because of Baker Mayfield. He just has a high floor. He's so safe. You can get him late. And he has been a top 3 quarterback almost every year of his career. You're losing Doug Baldwin. You're getting the addition of DK Metcalf, which I think there's a high variability based on, this offense. Like, are they going to ground and pound like they did last year? I think they will. They have 2 really good running backs. Losing Doug Baldwin, I think it's tough. I don't think the ceiling's as high as it used to be, but the floor is definitely there on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I got Russell at number 9, and I like him. He's consistent. He's going to probably just chuck the ball all over the place like he does. He's very accurate, so he's going to be efficient. He should be able to get you some rushing yards. He didn't run as much last year, but he will be able to. I'm sure he'll get some rushing yards this year.
Yeah.
He gets 20, 30 every so often, and he does have those big passing games where he's like 20 for 25 and 3 scores.
He's efficient.
Yeah,
he really is.
He could definitely be. He's definitely a solid pick.
Yeah.
At number 8, though, I have Ben Roethlisberger, which I'm a little weary about. I'm not sure how excited I am about Big Ben. I know Big Ben's been good for the past 10 years. He's always been a top 10 guy. Everyone always wants him. But there's no more Antonio Brown. There's no more Le'Veon Bell.
Nope.
They're replacing with James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster, and they don't really have a second receiver, and their tight end, Vance McDonald. He's all right. He's all right. So the weapons are definitely a downgrade from where he originally was last year. He's also getting older. You don't know if he really wants it anymore. His demeanor's very odd, if you ask me.
You lose possibly the number 1 running back and the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. I know he wasn't getting along with at least Antonio Brown, but man, those distractions, those were rough. But it's tough losing that kind of talent, and for you to be like, yeah, we're fine going to the Super Bowl. Of course, he's going to say that, but from a fantasy perspective, he's a guy that you can definitely take really late now, and you just hope that he can capture it for at least one more year being a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, there's definitely upside. There's definitely potential. He always ends up playing well. But there's parts of the games where he doesn't play well, and it'll hurt you. So I'm a little nervous with this ranking at 8. I'm probably going to end up dropping him down a little bit, not be too confident. Maybe put him in that Phillip Rivers conversation. Back end for QB1. But yeah, that's what I think about Ben Roethlisberger. He worries me. I'm not really high on him, and I think I'm going to probably end up moving him down my rankings eventually.
Gotcha. Now, number 9, I had Baker Mayfield. We already talked about him, so who's your number 9?
I got Russell Wilson, so
we talked about him.
We spoke about him.
So what's your number 10?
I got 10. I got Jared Goff, and you ranked him much higher than I did.
Yes.
And I understand your reasoning behind it. I'm just not sold on him. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's an elite quarterback.
I agree with that, but for fantasy purposes, I think it's half of that is just like running backs. It's talent and situation, and his situation is top 3 in the NFL. Is he a top 3 quarterback talent-wise? No, I would never believe that. Like, if he didn't have Sean McVay and he didn't have those weapons, no.
Yeah.
He would be – I'd put him in that, probably like 14 to 16, like that kind of talent. I think he's not that great, but I mean, you saw Chad Pennington had some halfway decent fantasy years, and he had a noodle for an arm. He couldn't throw past 20 yards.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Goff is I don't think the consistency factor is going to be there week in and week out. He's going to have his weeks where he gets 20, 30 points, where he has 3, 4, 5 touchdown passes, you know. But there's going to be weeks like he showed this previous season.
Yeah.
You know, in the playoffs, he really didn't show up in the playoffs, let's be real. You know, if it wasn't for C.J. Anderson running the ball, they might not be where they are.
Yeah.
You know, he what big plays did he really make? You know, even at the back end of the season when Gurley was hurt, you know, they were losing games.
Yeah.
He wasn't making good decisions. So that kind of worries me, you know, going forward. I think he'll be a solid quarterback. I just can't put him in that like top 8, top 7 category just because of the inconsistency factor.
Understandable. Now, number 10, I have Mr. Cam Newton. Cam, I think, you know, he's got that high floor again because of that rushing ability. I like Christian McCaffrey there because that's just that's an elite weapon. I think that's the most elite weapon he's ever had, which helps out a ton. I think DJ Moore takes another step forward. It's tough. He's always had just like usually 2 guys. You got Greg Olsen still there, but I don't know what he's going to be at this point. But I just think from the fact that he's got that high floor, he's been a top 1, 2 quarterback before, he could recapture that. Again, like the Ben Roethlisberger thing, he could recapture for another year. But those guys that move around and take a lot of hits, even as a big guy, it's scary.
Yeah.
Like you've seen so many injuries, and he even had that car accident to add to it. Just the total amount of damage that's been done to that body. It's risky.
Yeah, and he has I believe he has a shoulder injury, which almost held him out this season.
They were talking about him missing time.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Cam. I mean, I think I might switch Cam and move Ben down, Cam up a little bit. I think he's a good player. I mean, you're gonna get rushing touchdowns out of him. You know, probably 5.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get rushing yards out of him. He might not throw for a ton of touchdowns, but he's going to keep you in games, and he could win you weeks. He's the type of guy that can literally flip a week for you.
That's true.
And I think I think he's a top 10 guy. I would probably put him in there going forward.
Gotcha.
So let me ask you, that's your top 10. Do you have any sleeper quarterbacks that you're eyeing up, or any guys that are like guys that don't want to draft a quarterback early that, you know, can take someone late?
I think right now I have 3. I think the obvious one is Phillip Rivers, who maybe should be in my top 10. Not sure who I'd take out right now. I got to do a little more research. The other 2 guys that I know are going to be late, if not, they're not going to be drafted at all, are Kyler Murray, because we've seen rookie quarterbacks do it, especially ones that could rush. They could be viable. It all depends on how this offense shakes out. If David Johnson can be what he once was, if those young wide receivers can take a step up, if Larry Fitzgerald can continue to be Larry Fitzgerald. And then my last quarterback would have to be Josh Allen, who was, you know, he was like a top 2 quarterback for those 6 games at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Top 2 or 3. He was a league winner. He had that 40-point week. I know he helped me get to a championship in one of my leagues. That's a wild card right there. He could be like a Cam Newton light because he surprised us all with those rushing totals. It was pretty crazy. But who do you have?
Well, there's 2 guys that I like, and Josh Allen is one of them. If I'm going late and I'm not drafting a quarterback, if I got to draft 2 quarterbacks, he's definitely got to be one of my targets. Simply because of his floor. He has a high floor. I mean, if he stays healthy, he can be Cam Newton, and he's got a better arm than Cam Newton. You know, he's more accurate. And he's just as fast and just as strong. He has like 20, 30-yard runs in games, you know, and he run for like 6 touchdowns the last 6 weeks or something like that. So, yeah, Josh Allen, definitely one of the guys I'll be targeting if I decide to take a quarterback late. And the other guy is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm a huge fan of him.
That's right. I completely forgot about Jimmy.
Yeah, I think
most of us did, though, because he was out for most of the year.
It's possible. But he is a really good quarterback, man. And though he doesn't have a lot of talent behind him, he models his game after Tom Brady. He was behind him for 2-3 years, and if you hear him speak and you watch him play, his game is very, very similar to Brady's. There's been notes that Garoppolo has the quickest release in the NFL, which is a huge plus. And you know Shanahan's offense, they're quick pace, you know, so he's going to be getting out, go to the running backs a lot. And George Kittle is going to be a huge asset there. I think Dante Pettis is in for a big year. I do like Garoppolo a lot, and I think he's a good late-round quarterback if you're looking to punt quarterbacks.
Beautiful. All very valid points. Now, guys, that comes to the end of our video. Please like and subscribe if you want. And with that, it's the end. Thank you very much. Guys, this entire video, I'm wearing a green shirt.